System Architect supports the Amazon Web Services AWS Reference Architecture Icon set. Amazon maintains an architecture center, which is full of information on digital transformation technologies. You can look at the reference architecture diagrams that Amazon proposes in different areas, such as big data, analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, security, you name it. In each area, there are use cases for different solution architectures, like this financial advisor chat assistant using Amazon technologies. Now, this is done in PowerPoint, but also Amazon provides an icon set so that you can model in your tool of choice. We provide this icon set in System Architect along with custom user props of the meta model and also bitmaps on toolbars so that you can build solution architectures in System Architect in a variety of ways. We're going to cover these ways in this video. So the first technique we're going to look at is a governed approach to modeling solution architectures with the AWS icon set. You see here a diagram type called Solution Architecture AWS. That's something we created through customizing the meta model. It's in a file called user props. We provide this user props to you so you can inject it into an encyclopedia, customize your meta model so that you can have this diagram type, along with bitmaps for all of the concepts in the Amazon icon set. These bitmaps, these 16 by 16 bitmaps, enable you to look across and see the different concepts and choose concepts to model in your solution architecture. As you model, pick a bitmap and draw it, you get an SVG image, a scalable vector image. So I can look across all of the concepts from application integration and analytics, customer enablement, database concepts, game tech, Internet of Things, machine learning and artificial intelligence, etc. I'm going to select a storage concept. Here are all these storage concepts in AWS. I'm going to choose Simple Storage Device. So I type in S3 Object Storage. And now I have a symbol with a definition underneath it. I can use my Mona Lisa button in System Architect to flip it to be the full Amazon vector image. I could flip it again to have an icon in the upper right-hand corner with a rectangle. I could flip it again back to a pure rectangle. I have many options actually, but I'm just going to flip it to this Amazon icon, and then I'll go into the definition and add some spaces in here to make it look prettier on the diagram. So now I can create relationships between items. Now, as I start to draw, you can see System Architect tries to put my line connecting to something that the relationship can be drawn to. I can't draw into space. This is part of data centricity. So I'm allowed to model this to the storage concept. And I give it a name, and I have a flow of information or resources of some sort from, in this case, Amazon Kendra Intelligent Search Service to my S3 storage. I can also use different kinds of lines. We have a wireless connection. Let me build a wireless connection from this client devices over to, and again, you can see there are only certain things I can connect to. I'll connect to this temporary security credentials. And maybe I'll change the color of that line as well. And finally, I'm in a repository, an enterprise architecture repository, so I can always look at what's in there already and use it or reuse it on a diagram. So I right mouse click on the diagram workspace, click choices, and I see all of the different artifacts that can be drawn on this diagram type, in this case, all of the Amazon concepts. I'll go down to security and find AWS Secrets Manager. I right mouse click details and see some details on that. And I'm going to drag that onto the diagram. And you can see a relationship is drawn automatically. That's because of the data centricity here. So this has been modeled somewhere else. And of course, the diagram always has to reflect the model information. So this is a data-centric, data-driven diagram type. Another technique is to use a non-data-centric approach since you're doing conceptual modeling. So I have another diagram type here called Solution Conceptual AWS. Again, this is a name that we chose. You can change the diagram name type by modifying the user props that we provide. I'll open up a non-data-centric example of the same use case. In this diagram type, if I click Choices and find what's out there in the encyclopedia, such as that Security AWS Secrets Manager, and drag it onto the diagram, the relationship line is not drawn. And that may be something that you want because you are modeling at the conceptual level, so you're not delineating past the fact that, in this case, it's just AWS Secrets Manager. And so each diagram becomes a different use case. The relationship lines represent different scenarios. The definition type is going to carry data that is global. If I type in this description field, it'll be added anywhere I view that definition, in this case, Amazon Cognito, user directory and authentication. So this is a non-data-centric approach. Here's another example. If we zoom in on this diagram, you can see that we have Amazon Monotron twice. And if I drew a line of some sort, this flow between Monotron and Kinesis, Amazon Kinesis, that line would draw itself from here to here as well, and I wouldn't want that because I'm modeling at the conceptual level. So we provide both diagram types, one data-driven, relationship data-centric, and the other one conceptual, non-data-centric, but still being able to capture these concepts in a repository for reuse. So besides a data-driven approach to building solution architecture, System Architect also has a reporting engine that enables you to ask the architecture questions. So I can use that reporting engine to ask this diagram questions. I can run a report to show steps on the current diagram. That's cursoring through all of these steps and providing me with that information. Here's another report that walks through every diagram, gives me the diagram name and the steps on that diagram. So those are some simpler reports. You can build your own more sophisticated reports within minutes using the System Architect reporting engine. We have videos on how to do that on the YouTube channel. Another technique is to use the icon set to represent definitions of standard enterprise architecture frameworks such as TOGAF, DoDAF 2, Unified Architecture Framework, NATO Architecture Framework, ArchMate, SysML, etc. So here I have an encyclopedia with an architecture, enterprise architecture built using TOGAF 10. I have a business footprint diagram here which has goals, organization units, functions, business services that provide those functions, and I want to add some application services that will provide those business services, application services from AWS. On my desktop here in Windows Explorer, I can see I have all of the Amazon icons. So I have icons for the different categories, Internet of Things, machine learning, game tech, etc. I'm going to choose business applications category, and I'll use Honeycode, which is an application service from Amazon. I drag it onto the diagram workspace in System Architect, and I can choose to copy it in, import it into the files table of the underlying SQL Server database repository. I can choose to have a reference to it. I'll copy it, put it on the diagram. I now have a symbol on the diagram representing Honeycode, as you would in PowerPoint or Visio or a drawing tool. I can name that symbol, so I'll call it Honeycode. It's a picture. It has information about it. But now, very powerfully, I can right mouse click on that symbol and choose to transform it to a definition type in TOGAF 10. So I have business service, any definition type that can be drawn on this diagram type. So I have anything available in the draw toolbar, functions, business service, goal, organization, etc. I'll choose to bring this in as an application service, and it's going to be called Honeycode. And then I can use my Mona Lisa button to flip it so that it looks like the Amazon icon represented that way. I'll choose to increase its font to 14. And very powerful. I now have brought a picture in, but it's not PowerPoint, it's not Visio. This is a definition, an application service in TOGAF with all of the properties that application services have in the TOGAF meta model. I can also now draw a line, a relationship between that application service and business services that it supports. I have a number of lines to draw here. I can use the magic line and draw a relationship from Honeycode to account administration. Name the relationship. And so I am starting to model in TOGAF 10 very quickly and easily using the icon set. Now what goes on under the covers here is that this Honeycode application service is being represented by this picture brought in, overriding the normal depiction for TOGAF 10 for an application service at the symbol level on this diagram. I can also choose to override at the definition level in the depiction tab. If I brought this picture in and chose it here, it would override and show that application service through the Honeycode picture anywhere Honeycode was represented on any diagram. So you have both choices here, to override at the symbol level or override at the definition level. So the only issue here is that Windows Explorer doesn't provide thumbnails of the SVGs. The thumbnails you see here are the bitmaps that we provide for the draw toolbar. So you're kind of working in the dark a little bit here. And so another way to go is to use System Architect's picture browser. The picture browser has been invented to enable you to find SVGs. By default, it's looking at the files table of the database. I can go out and browse directories on my computer. Here I see all of the SVGs out in that directory. I'm going to choose Pinpoint SVG, which is an application service from Amazon. Close this, and I'm back to having a picture that I can name. And then transform into a TOGAF artifact type, application service. I'll hit my Mona Lisa button, show it as the Amazon picture. Increase its font, and then draw a relationship between it and, let me move this over a little bit, the business service Pinpoint will enable, which in this case is target market analysis. So again, we're using the Amazon icon set very quickly and easily to start modeling with a standard framework meta model. And maybe I'll tidy this up a little bit, make these the same size. Another technique is to use the icon set as analytics on diagrams. I have here a DoDAF 2 encyclopedia with an SV1 diagram that shows system of systems supporting maintenance of aircraft. So we have systems here within systems, and then we also have some new Amazon Web Services, predictive maintenance system, data firehose, data lake, and maintenance notification system. I could run analytic reports that will put icons on the diagram or change the color of symbols based on underlying information that surfaces via the report. I have my heat map manager here of System Architect open, and I can run a number of reports at the same time. In this case, I'll run analytic reports to show who uses the system in terms of lines of business, what kind of system it is, who the owner of the system is, and then also an Amazon Web Service type. Run them all. And you can see now the diagram is illustrated by this information, including here the Amazon icons representing these services. These icons are placed in different places on the diagram in relation to the symbol. If I look at one of these analytics, for example, Kinesis Data Firehose, I see it's a report-based analytic. Here's the report. It's going to get systems where the application type is equal to Kinesis Data Firehose. And then also, I'm using the Amazon SVG for that data firehose, and I'm specifying that this analytic report will put this analytic on the top right outside size of 30 pixels. And so that's how you see it in the top right, size of 30 pixels on each of these symbols. And you can see the other icons in various other places. System Architect provides a legend for all of these analytic icons. Now you can run analytic reports on any diagram type. Here we see a BPMN business process diagram which shows the processes for aircraft maintenance. And you also see in here the Amazon Web Services that are used to do these processes. The reports run here go from process to the operational activity that maps to that process, to the systems that do the operational activity, in this case Monotron. Very powerful. So those are some of the techniques you can use to represent your architecture with the Amazon Web Services icon set. Thanks for watching.